The Buddha's teachings, 3 supreme truths of the Buddha that help you build a peaceful life. Today, we have witnessed how each drop of water can merge together to form the vast ocean. There are 3 truths that anyone can practice: a broad, expansive mind, gentle and harmonious speech, employing compassion as our fundamental nature to devote ourselves throughout our life. These 3 mottos are the foundation for building trust among people, enabling beings to love one another and live in harmony. Whether one is poor or rich, everyone experiences suffering in life. The only difference is the form that suffering takes for each individual. Bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, up to this day, with all the knowledge I have imparted to you, please examine it carefully and apply it diligently in your practice. First, you must realize it for yourselves, and only then can you share it with others. From this day on, you bear the profound responsibility of transmitting this supreme truth to all sentient beings. You should not hastily believe anything, even if I once said it, until you use your own learning and wisdom to contemplate and confirm it is entirely trustworthy, with no trace of doubt. Bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, all phenomena, dharma, are impermanent, arising and ceasing, coming into being and passing away. You must always be diligent in order to attain liberation. Someone once said, "What you've stated is completely contradictory. You believe in a next life, yet deny the existence of a self. How can there be a next life if there is no self?" The Blessed One replied, "That's not incorrect. However, there is no contradiction. Non-self can still go hand in hand with belief in a future life." What does that mean? Have you ever seen a mango fruit? We take its seed and plant it in the ground. It grows into a mango tree, which later bears fruit. Is that not like the next generation of the original mango tree? This example is to say I deny the notion of a fixed self-nature. Venerable Sir, the first of the 4 noble truths you taught says that everything is suffering. The world is filled with suffering, birth is suffering, and death is also suffering. Doesn't that sound negative? You are not wrong. But immediately after the first noble truth, I speak of ending suffering in the subsequent truths. To talk about the end of suffering, I must first explain what suffering is, then point out how to triumph over it. How can that be considered entirely negative? People claim that you have come to destroy this world, causing young people to all become monks. I do not wish to destroy the world. What I want is for everyone to abandon false pleasures and be guided back to the source of life. It takes courage to walk this path. Only those with great bravery can do it. In this vast world, carrying only your alms bowl, each thought carefully focused on body and mind, is like walking along the blade of a knife. Regarding a child who has not awakened, it is possible that they could uplift their entire family, yet they might also bring them tremendous heartbreak. Likewise, a monk regards the entire world as his family. One awakened monk can uplift the world. "You speak truly," someone said. "You teach the principle of non-killing, turning warriors into monastics who strive for righteousness but end up feeling guilty." That's correct, but non-killing is a form of transforming violence. Violence can never truly be quenched by violence, but compassion can. This is a natural law. Everyone fears death. Once you realize that others share the same mindset, you will spontaneously give up violence. A long night is endless for the sleepless, and a road is long and distant for the weary traveler. Likewise, for one who lives in ignorance and does not understand the Dharma, his life will be filled with suffering and misfortune. The mysterious truth of life is to free oneself from fear, worrying not about the future, harboring no sorrow over the past, and neither depending on nor fearing the person you used to be. Another truth about life is that you become attached to certain people or objects, yet in the end, you will lose them. From the moment you no longer reach out, begging for help, you have attained liberation. Please teach us, O Blessed One, what is important in the worldly life of lay people. Kunda, in married life, equality is most important. A family in which husband and wife live in love and harmony will flourish with prosperity. That kind of prosperity can spread, making everyone feel happy. In worldly life, a couple's union must transcend mere physical and material desires. The wife is a part of the husband's being. The husband should give his wife respect and dignity, never humiliating her in front of others. A wife should not act contrary to the standards of a virtuous woman, and a husband must be worthy of his duty as a husband, staying away from vices. Every decision the husband makes should consider his wife's wishes. Loving the husband is a wife's responsibility, regarding her husband's family as her own, acting as a safe haven of love, offering care and support to every member of her husband's family. If each person respects the other like an honored guest, trusts one another, then the supreme truth shall be yours. Compassionate, world-honored one, please tell us what we need to heed so we may walk the path you have shown us. Associate with good people. Those who cannot remain mindful easily lead you into laziness and negligence, creating unfavorable conditions for your practice. Then the state of your mind becomes defiled and cannot remain pure. Your occupation should also be in harmony with the Dharma. Regardless of what you do, business or routine tasks, investigate thoroughly first, then dedicate yourself to completing it. For instance, when cooking rice or boiling water, do not see it as a trivial chore unworthy of attention. Consider it an opportunity to care for yourself, your husband, and your children. Whatever blessings arise in life, do not be selfish or live only for yourself. Your happiness, success, and wealth should be shared with others. Avoid gambling and alcohol. As a human being, you must remain humble, courteous, friendly, and upright. Whenever you have the opportunity to offer alms to the monastics or practice meditation, these things can dissolve worries and difficulties, leading your mind to experience the supreme tranquility. You must remember each morning, as we open our eyes to the new dawn, we should be clearly aware of our responsibilities. This is very important. People often forget gratitude. One should always keep in mind what one is indebted to. Just like the plants, flowers, wind, water, and air, none of these truly belong to us. We must be grateful to everything, always carrying gratitude in our hearts as we live and think. Thus, we will harvest many benefits. It's not meaningless. If everything were meaningless, wouldn't we all be sick? If we got sick, death wouldn't be so far away, right? Carrying gratitude within us is like a magnificent flower shining in this world. Ignorance gives rise to suffering, anxiety, delusion, anger, arrogance, pride, jealousy, all born from ignorance. Delusion leads people down evil paths. Though they appear as two aspects, life and death have no real difference. They are one. It is our mistaken perceptions that obstruct us. Once we remove all hindrances, our entire being becomes truly independent, relying on nothing, free of all entanglements. Morality, sila, concentration, samadhi, wisdom, panya, and the Noble Eightfold Path can eradicate all wrong views. I will repeat once more: right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. A long night is endless for the sleepless, and a road is long and distant for the weary traveler. Likewise, for one who lives in ignorance and does not understand what right dharma is, he will spend his life in suffering and misfortune. Whatever knowledge you gain, whether by reading or hearing wise gurus expound, or even my words, do not believe it hastily. You must examine it with your own learning and wisdom, then analyze and verify it. Blessed One, what if we meet you on the path of truth? On the path of truth, no matter whom you meet, do not rush to accept them. Even if you meet a king who is your own father, do not consider that to be the ultimate. Even if you meet your actual father, do not abandon the righteous path just because of him. Your life must be firmly held in the palm of your own hand. Do not rely on others. Behold the eternal within your grief. Discover joy in the midst of cruelty. See the humanity within evil. Perceive goodness. Ignorance has clouded people's vision. Once we break through that veil of delusion, all suffering and worry vanish from our hearts. Compassion and forgiveness awaken. The feelings of all beings are the same. If you are not an awakened one, you cannot discover the intrigue of enlightenment. And if you give rise to the aspiration for enlightenment, then you too shall become a Buddha. O my beloved bhikkhus, these are my final instructions. Light the lamp of your own being. Be your own lamp. Be diligently mindful of the Dharma, focusing on your mind within. Rely on yourselves, do not depend on others. Everything is impermanent. Dwell steadfast amid all changes, exerting diligent effort, and never give up. Ananda, the supreme truth, is not found floating in empty space. It is found within each person's mind. Today, let us together ensure that children must be loved and protected. As for the elderly, we must provide them with sincere love and care. We should sympathize with those who strive diligently. Toward those who are weak, no matter how astray they have gone, we should treat them with generosity. We must remember that such opportunities exist everywhere in our daily life. Bhagavan, sometimes we carelessly do unwholesome deeds. If we feel remorse for these actions, what should we do? When you have committed a wrong, you should continuously correct your behavior. Our thoughts create who we are. If your thoughts are unwholesome, they will manifest in your actions, and suffering arises, like a wheel following the foot of the ox. If your thoughts are wholesome, your actions will be wholesome, and happiness will always accompany you in this life. What about other ordeals that arise in life? Please instruct us. In summary, there are only 3 things that matter most. First, have we loved genuinely? Second, have we lived our lives to the fullest? Third, can we take one more step and let go of everything? The reason we exist is to seek the meaning of life. When we sacrifice ourselves wholeheartedly, our hearts and minds, at that very moment, we see the ultimate essence of life. Returning hate for hate only perpetuates hatred. Transforming it by love is the most fundamental principle. There are 3 things that will never remain hidden in darkness: the sun, the moon, and the truth. The truth can never be buried. To be reborn anew, one must first awaken. If we speak of misfortune, it can be counted on 10 fingers, but good deeds number in the hundreds. If our ancestors committed wrongs and sowed bad karma, then in their remaining years, they naturally sink down like pebbles in water. Doing good deeds is like essential oil that floats on water. We reap what we sow, not just in one lifetime, but also through future lifetimes, bearing the results of our actions. The body in this life does not exist solely for this lifetime. After it deteriorates, there is still the drifting along in the sea of samsara. We reap what we sow. Our words can be like sharp knives that kill invisibly. I have seen a distant future where fathers and sons oppose each other, brothers turn on one another, husbands and wives separate, houses burn to ashes, and unjust acts abound. People kill each other over race, language, and faith. That is the root cause of division. Living in harmony depends on everyone's enlightenment. Yet how can humanity use love to erase discrimination, seeing each other as siblings? We must set a precedent. In that age, the standards we uphold will save humanity from disaster. Remember, my disciples, doubt is a serious illness. It destroys human relationships like a poison that kills friendship. It is like a thorn piercing deep to the bone. Never forget that our thoughts create who we are. Because of ignorance, we have suffering, delusion, and anxiety. Greed, anger, pride, false imagination, jealousy, and fear all arise from ignorance. Illusion is the opposite side of ignorance. Illusion has 2 sides. Maintain the middle way. Do not lean to one side or the other. Do not let your body starve, and do not indulge in sensual desires. Concentrate on the middle way. When you recognize that evil is only an illusion, then all vexations disappear by themselves. Compassion and tolerance arise. Their essence is the same. Realizing this, all resentment vanishes. Even those who treat us cruelly, we can understand. Once the door of wisdom opens, all that remains is forgiveness. During meditation, if thoughts arise, wisdom helps us discern truth from phenomena, self from others. Such discrimination guides us into error. Humans are often bound by attachments, and greed is the cause that drives us away from truth. Within the cycle of birth and death, from the moment we are born until we die, we fear illness and the end of life, but this only increases our ignorance and fear. Hence, we must sever all illusions. Once we step outside illusion, life is liberated, freed from constraints, made serene, stable, and peaceful. The 4 noble truths are 4 exalted realities. The first truth is that none can escape suffering. It follows us like a shadow. The second truth is that the cause of suffering is ignorance, greed, anger, sorrow, worry, fear, and hopelessness, self-clinging. The third truth, the end of suffering, is wisdom, the understanding of oneself and life. This insight leads to the cessation of suffering and brings forth peace. The fourth truth is the path that leads to the cessation of suffering, namely the noble eightfold path, nurtured by mindfulness, ultimately leading to concentration and wisdom, freeing us from all suffering. That path includes 8 right practices, with clear seeing, right thinking, truthful speech, correct action, righteous livelihood, diligent effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration guiding our behavior. I am the Dharma. As a spider weaves its web in beautiful patterns, so does the natural world create myriad things. Its beauty is boundless. When our mind generates a desire, we think we will surely be happy if we obtain it. But once that dream is realized, we feel an inner emptiness. Do you know why? Desire is like a wish we hold. Once it is fulfilled, the wish we have been anticipating disappears. Then the emptiness in our life flows away like water through our fingers. Thus, nothing is certain in life, right? Yes, indeed. Then forget these illusory worldly desires. Forget your fear of life and death, for it brings you no benefit. Even if you are terrified of life ending, start by negating the notion of this existence and search for the hidden self within. Countless people suffer from material deprivation, living in poverty, lacking food or clothing, enduring all sorts of injustice. Many others experience mental suffering. If you are about to jump into a deep abyss, why don't you pay attention to the beautiful scenery around you? Anything in excess, even joy, ultimately results in suffering. Therefore, maintain the middle way. Thus you will recognize the true nature of things and gain boundless tranquility. For thousands of years, we have been quick to see and criticize the faults of others, requiring scriptures or scholars to cleanse them of their sins, like offering rituals and sacrifices. But I assert that the root of all sins lies in ourselves, and only we can open the door to liberation. Suppose someone wants to reach the other side of the river. What should he do? In my view, if the water is shallow, he can wade across. If it is deep, he must swim or use a boat. But what if he refuses all those means and only prays to the gods? Will a path suddenly appear under his feet on the other shore? Such a person we call a fool, utterly ignorant. Likewise, if one uses wisdom to subdue desire and ignorance, how could he not discover truth and the path to liberation? If one only prays or offers sacrifices, he will remain stuck in place, never crossing the starting line. The earth is our foundation. The sky gives us freedom of space. Our bodies dwell within these. What is supreme truth? Only by personally experiencing it, understanding yourself, and truly knowing yourself can you grasp it. Without thoughts, without desires, merely sensing and maintaining balance, once you master these, you no longer see any difference in the existence of all things. Like changes in the weather, the falling of leaves, can we sense all that? Certainly, wisdom is everywhere, in the sun, the moon, the stars, the galaxies. This supreme truth is available to everyone and can lead to enlightenment. Today I have been through an extremely harsh trial. Desire, anger, illusion, greed, hunger, all of them appeared before me, yet my mind remained unmoved. I once made a vow, even if it costs my life, I must realize enlightenment. Finally, I attained that ultimate truth which leads to salvation. Please teach me the path to such wholesome Dharma. All beings in this world merge into one entity. It is like an invisible thread that we cannot see. If you diligently do good deeds like waves rushing to shore, over time, goodness will follow you from one life to the next until you awaken. On the other hand, if you create evil, you will experience suffering for many lifetimes, leading to downfall. If you remain mindful in each moment of the present, preserving inner peace, you will discover the middle way in your own mind, neither sadness nor joy, beyond the binding flow of karma. Ultimately, you will realize the supreme truth. Do not be disheartened, Ananda. I have often reminded you, all phenomena are impermanent. Life inevitably moves toward death. Gathering foreshadows parting. High tides follow low tides. If there were no death, how could there be birth? Ananda, you have served me wholeheartedly, and I am deeply grateful. You have done your utmost to assist me. You possess many noble qualities, but you can still progress further, striving more intensely to transcend birth and death and attain the freedom of the mind, growing through each hardship. I know you can do this, and it brings me comfort. Venerable Ananda, you have 4 qualities. Your speech is gentle, you are content with whatever you receive, you treat everyone equally, and your silence brings joy to all. Ananda, in all these years, you have served me without the slightest doubt, right? My cremation ceremony still needs your help. Remember well, my path is not for you to flee the world. I believe humans can change when influenced by another's good or bad deeds. My hope rests in noble hearts. A person's destiny is determined by the karma they create. We are born on this great earth. All experiences are suffering. Samsara is rife with pain and sorrow. Yet the world is not simply a place for suffering. It is where enlightened beings reside, but only if they are awakened. This is now your responsibility. Whatever is destined to arrive will do so, and then it will disperse. Expectation or longing is futile. Life is very short. There is no time for regrets. Don't waste even a minute on people or things that cause you troubles. All encounters and separations come through certain conditions. Harmonizing with them brings peace, which is enlightenment. When we were young, happiness was so simple. After growing up, living simply becomes our happiness. In life, disappointment arises because we are too hopeful. Grand dreams end in ashes. We hold too much in our hearts, yet can't express ourselves. Some people cannot forget because they cannot let go. Others must forget because the memory is unworthy. We often feel exhausted because we hesitate between holding on and letting go. Sometimes, even when we understand, we cannot accept reality. Whoever steps into your life does so under karmic conditions, but staying or leaving depends on you. Not explaining can bring relief. Not clinging brings clarity, and imperfection is part of life. No matter how well you live, some will praise, some will criticize. No matter how successful you are, there will be both good and bad commentary. If some admire you, others will despise you. If someone envies you, another may dislike you. That's life. You can't please everyone, so don't lose yourself because of other people's judgments. Everyone has their own principles and dignity. We may not appear as a perfect person through someone else's words. There are multiple versions of us from different perspectives. You only need to be the best version of yourself. As a person, you don't need everyone to love you. Just be honest and generous. Though grass may come in thousands of varieties, they can all blossom and emit fragrance without hindrance. Among people, each has their own style. Why not help each other rise instead of dragging each other down? If something seems worthwhile, cherish it. If it makes you happy, preserve it. Stay close to those who bring you joy. Love those who move you. Being human may seem easy, but it's not always easy to touch thousands of hearts. Managing others' words is no simple task either. Living as a human is not necessarily difficult, though. Keep a compassionate heart, be a good person, walk your chosen path. When storms of life come, just remind yourself that the sun will shine again once you pass through the tempest. Don't waste your breath complaining to others. Chances are they won't really care. Some burdens are lighter once you set them down. Some people, when recalled, make you happy. Some sorrows, once you understand, make you stronger. Overthinking traps you in circles. Even a small matter can become complicated if you think too much. Maintain a calm mind and an open heart, and whatever arises passes more gently. Life moves quickly. By stepping away from illusory fame and gain, we can touch what is real. When facing complicated situations, address them simply, discard needless attachments, and keep the mind at ease so you can move forward. Give way to others on the road. It spares trivial conflicts. Look farther, and you'll see a rainbow after the rain. Pack lightly so you can travel far in peace. In truth, the most beautiful scene is not observed by the eyes but felt by the heart. The deepest feelings do not always need words but can be expressed through actions. When something is displeasing, remember the virtue of water, soft, gentle, silently embracing and transforming all things without contention. If each of us could cultivate ourselves to that state, how could the world not know peace? When you view everyone around you in a positive light and recognize value in every occurrence, you'll find life truly enjoyable and the world genuinely wonderful. If you respond to life with a troubled mind, seeing everything as karmic obstacles, the world becomes ugly and loathsome. Many wish to be more attractive, but the best way to attain beauty is to keep a peaceful heart and a joyful spirit. This beauty comforts those around you, preventing their aversion. Indeed, everything we receive in this life is a result of past causes, and everything we do now will shape the future. That's how life continues. If you understand this, you'll limit negative thinking and cease blaming the heavens or others when encountering adversity. Blessings come from diligence and a selfless way of living. Generate compassion to help those in need. Use gratitude to repay others' kindness, and maintain a heart of goodwill toward everyone and everything. Believing in karma, you won't commit regrettable deeds. Always respect others and treasure tolerance and gratitude. The ocean becomes vast by receiving hundreds of rivers. In life, two things we cannot avoid doing are moving forward and pausing. Are you approaching these with a positive mindset? A positive mind is our best companion for staying joyful and healthy. Whether dealing with close friends or strangers, if you have karmic ties, practice generosity. Good relationships stem from everyday kindness. Waiting until crisis strikes to plead for favor is pointless. Therefore, accumulate goodwill like depositing capital in a bank. The more you add and the longer it stays, the higher the interest. When issues arise, don't rush. Avoid making judgments in anger. Try placing yourself in different perspectives, reducing major conflicts to minor ones, and small matters to none, keeping complexity at bay. Live with a sense of enough to curb greed. Most of people's worries stem from futile comparisons. Some see their figure as inferior to someone else's, forgetting there are others who may be even smaller. If you lament that you don't have nice shoes, think of someone who doesn't have feet. If an adversary provokes you to anger, that shows you haven't surpassed them. Turning back to confront someone who insults you is unnecessary. It's like being bitten by a mad dog. Would you bite it back to get even? Therefore, do not be troubled by malicious words from others. Do not regard work as a burden. Rather than complaining and sulking, face it cheerfully, positively. Treat your occupation as an art, as a part of life, and you'll enjoy the happiness it brings. Being alive one more day is a blessing, so cherish it. Life is but a few decades. Don't engage in deeds that leave you sorrowful and full of regret. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. One more day, whether sad or joyful, still passes. If you ignore trivial gossip, your life will be peaceful, and your spirit will be light. Life often wavers and reels. Sitting quiet, madness subsides. Rain ends, the sun returns. Past hatred becomes peace. Do not add more fetters, for this world is just a way station, living amidst storms of life to savor the ephemeral. As time quickly slips away, don't weave endless dreams. Don't chase illusions over realities. Ensure wholeness for today. Observe the ceaseless transformations. Seasons change their garments. Layers of dreams within illusions awaken to fullness. While life still remains, live rightly in the present. Don't wait until it's too late, when all is lost in slumber. We come to this world for two main events, birth and death. One event is already done, only one remains. So there's no need to hurry. Whatever arrives under the right conditions will come, and once it's done, it disperses. Expecting or longing gains nothing. The greatest loneliness in life is having no spiritual refuge or direction. Whether you realize or admit it or not, if your heart is filled with goodness, there's nothing to trouble you. With a truly benevolent heart, you can never harbor resentment. A genuinely simple way of life remains unaffected by a chaotic world. Be a good person, and you will sleep well with a peaceful mind. Do good deeds, and heaven, earth, and even spirits will acknowledge you. If there is no doubt, the world won't be cold. If there is no discrimination, there is no separation. If there is no resentment, the sky remains bright. Without aggression, there is peace across the four seas. True tranquility does not mean sitting still for hours, but maintaining a calm mind amidst all phenomena, hearing even the subtle sounds of grass and flowers growing. Lasting stability comes from the heart. You won't find it by searching outside. We work hard all our lives, striving day and night, yet in the end, we can't take even a leaf with us. A lifetime spent accumulating wealth and status cannot be carried along, not even a hint of vanity. Whenever emotional attachment arises, whether we are wealthy or poor, once our journey ends, parting words are inevitable. A lifetime is short indeed. Many promise to live to 100, yet in a blink they are gone. Some have only just met a kindred spirit, and upon waking they are separated by death. So while there's still time, don't do anything regretful. Don't overthink, don't obsess, and don't harbor excessive ambitions. Being human, having less money is acceptable, but never let your will grow poor. Don't allow a lack of money to narrow your vision. Even if you cannot rise to the top, at least strive to be a useful person. Being human, you may not be very attractive, but never let your heart turn ugly. Kindness doesn't rely on external appearance, it comes from within. Being human, perhaps you're physically small, but don't let your heart be narrow-minded or cruel. Nobody likes those with a petty mind. Even with a frail frame, a good heart can comfort and warm many others. Being human, you might be slender and weak, but do not have a weak spirit. The weak-minded often become pessimistic and self-deprecating. Thus, you must cultivate courage, confidence, and your own perspective. Being human, your ears and eyes may be slow to notice, but never let your mind become ignorant. Always urge yourself to keep a clear mind, a lucid understanding, so you can see far and wide. Being human, being a bit unyielding is permissible, but don't be so unrestrained that malice transforms you into a demon. Otherwise, if you won't go to hell, who will? Being human, you can be smart, but never consider yourself the only clever one while everyone else is foolish. Otherwise, you are the one who's truly clueless in this world. Being human, a bit of laziness is acceptable, but don't remain idle all day. Fulfill responsibilities diligently. Develop a sense of contribution. Do not be a parasite on society. Being human, frugality is fine, but do not become overly calculating about money. Otherwise, you will habitually measure others by wealth, eventually becoming its slave. Being human, it's good to be tolerant, but do not let others repeatedly exploit your tolerance to continue wrongdoing. You should keep certain boundaries and self-respect. Being human, you can endure hardship, but don't let yourself suffer indefinitely with no way out. Learn how to rise above. Some things, once they happen, can only be accepted. Some people, once they leave, must be let go. Certain roads, once chosen, must be traveled. Many good things in life come from waiting patiently rather than seizing them. So cultivate patience if you don't want to miss your chance for happiness. Appreciate every small or large event in life. In retrospect, you will realize they were all quite significant. Many things only reveal their value once they become memories. If we truly have affinity, time and distance won't matter. If not, even if we meet, we'll still part ways. Perhaps one must walk many roads, witnessing both splendors and difficulties before maturing. When you see someone's flaws but do not expose them, you understand the meaning of forgiveness. When you dislike someone but do not turn hostile, you embody the pinnacle of respect. A person's maturity doesn't come from living long, traveling widely, or encountering many situations, but rather from learning when to let go or to be tolerant, reducing conflict. Everyone bears hidden pains, not because they no longer feel, but because they know that speaking of pain solves nothing. Complaining only weakens oneself. Maturity means still being able to smile while transforming suffering into happiness. No matter what struggles you face them bravely. Don't consider escaping, and don't curse or resent. In life, many things aren't necessarily good just because they follow your wishes. The sun won't fail to rise just because you're sad, nor will the moon fail to set just because you resent it. Covering your eyes doesn't turn the world dark. Blurring others' eyes doesn't guarantee the light will shine solely on you. There may be dull axes, but no type of tree is truly impossible to fell. If there is a will, there is a way. Otherwise, people will find excuses. Life is like a cup of water, whether hot or cold. If it suits you, drink it. Whether sweet or bitter, if it pleases your taste, it's good. Likewise with tasks, done quickly or slowly, if you're receptive, it can be pleasant. The 4 seasons come and go. Spring, summer, autumn, or winter, if they match your mood, they are all perfect. Life is not a battlefield. There's no need to determine a victor between people. With more empathy, misunderstandings will lessen. Between tasks, if we yield more, conflicts will dwindle. Some things must be endured, some people must be yielded to, because it's impossible to conquer everyone. You don't need approval or recognition from everyone, since each has their own perspective. We often value ourselves too highly, thus we worry about gain or loss and feel misunderstood. Actually, we should learn to diminish the self to avoid focusing on the ego, putting ourselves in others' shoes. Life then becomes more endearing. The more you open your heart, the more joy enters. The broader your tolerance, the more you'll receive. Do not gossip behind others' backs, and don't let rumors about you concern you too much. People who achieve nothing are rarely discussed. The more outstanding you are, the more likely you'll attract attention and commentary. In life, admitting fault shows honesty, and forgiving displays grace. If you offer honesty but don't receive grace, that proves the other person is somewhat ordinary. When you can embrace the imperfect aspects of life, caring only about responsibility and not personal gain, you stand on higher moral ground. When you can look forward with hope, look down with compassion, and face your superiors with gratitude, you have reached a high level of spiritual maturity. Life requires us to look far, see deeply, and also perceive clearly. Looking far helps us see the bigger picture. Looking deeply reveals the noisy world with countless fleeting alliances. People come for fame and go for profit. Looking clearly doesn't eliminate our aspirations. It brings peace to our hearts and calmness to our minds. The most frightening aging in a human being is not physical, but losing the spirit of endeavor. While we cannot alter our appearance, we can certainly improve our character. Transforming your disposition changes your entire fate. In daily interactions, remember that kindness, enthusiasm, and sincerity often yield favorable results. Sometimes a smile is more effective than mere politeness, bringing warmth to those around you. Finding fault in others betrays a lack of virtue in yourself. Pointing out shortcomings in others is itself a deficiency in you. Using your own limited perspective to judge others leaves no one free from error. Cornering others doesn't push them off a cliff. It only leaves yourself no escape route. Being caught up with others' success or failure doesn't harm them, but robs you of the time to look up at the vast sky. A person too domineering loses friends. A heart too selfish becomes exhausting. Only love can bring people together, can embrace the world. When you have free time, reflect on your own mistakes instead of gossiping about right and wrong in society. Though spoken words may not harm you physically, they can destroy your merit. Of all the evil karma from speech, slander is the worst. Thus, speak carefully. Avoid discussing things that don't exist. Even joking requires restraint. Exposing someone's faults, do not go too far. Keep some kindness in your speech. When reprimanding, do not be harsh. Retain a sense of compassion. Even if you are right, don't push things to the extreme. Keep some tolerance. And when handling matters, avoid being too rigid. Leave room for a retreat. Accepting others is also giving yourself a chance. Showing understanding for others broadens your own soul. A truly forgiving individual uses a kind heart to treat the world. A person of quality respects others. One who is cultivated remains gentle with everyone and everything, contemplating others' well-being. Such a person earns admiration. Only by respecting others can you be respected in return. If you handle all with a gentle attitude, your heart naturally becomes peaceful. Not competing or grasping means no anxiety or fear. Let someone else suffer in samsara. I return to my old homeland to rest in freedom. Returning all stooped postures from life after life, freed of attachments, illusions of karma. Returning illusions of mind into the ocean, repaying all entanglements with compassion. Let worldly dreams vanish, the footsteps of illusions fade with time. That ephemeral old path remains, the lake of eternity stands waiting. Eons pass in quiet slumber, now illusions are undone. Return to the primal face, let all worldly concerns remain in the world. In daily interactions, everything occurs under specific conditions. Among people, if you regard someone as a bodhisattva, they will appear benevolent. If you see them as a demon, they will become fearful. It is like looking into a mirror. Smile and you see a happy face. Frown and you see a sad one. The same principle applies among friends. If you treat them with respect, you receive courtesy. If you despise them, you receive dissatisfaction and contempt. Therefore, in life, be sincere with friends, affectionate with family, tolerant with loved ones, and forgiving toward enemies. If you constantly harbor positive thoughts and treat everyone accordingly, eventually they will perceive it and respond in kind. When you hold good things in your heart, your life's quality elevates. Form arises from the mind, circumstances shift according to our thoughts. If goodness in your heart is abundant, it will manifest outwardly and spread to those around you, yielding a wonderful outcome. Humanity is simple yet also frightening. A compassionate heart can accommodate everything, while a malicious heart can destroy many. Being overly cunning alienates others. Working too strictly breeds resentment. Always contending with people or claiming every advantage leads one to lose sincere relationships and degrade one's own integrity. Thus, when faced with money or gain, be a bit foolish to maintain peace. In emotional interactions, be a bit foolish to keep a clear conscience. When rumors arise, be a bit foolish to avoid letting them unsettle you. No one is perfect. Each individual has a distinctive character. Some may admire you, some resent you, others refuse to accept you. Yet deep down, everyone would prefer not to be tangled in endless conflict. The truly wise do not live with slyness or day-long calculations. They remain somewhat foolish to preserve their goodness and avoid endless struggles. Life is short. Learning contentment brings ease. In the tumult of existence, being a bit foolish grants you freedom.
Meditation practice method. The wonderful secret of meditation. What to do with your body. Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. The practice of meditation has existed for thousands of years. It's a long time for experimentation, and this method has been refined, honed, and perfected over the ages. Traditional Buddhist teachings always recognize the close interrelationship between the body and mind. Thus, physical practice can greatly support you in the process of cultivating insight. The following instructions should be practiced correctly, and it's important to remember that these sitting postures are merely supportive exercises, not the main focus. Meditation is not about sitting in the lotus position. It's about training the mind. It can be practiced anywhere. However, these postures will help you learn the skills needed to progress and develop faster in your meditation practice. Therefore, apply them appropriately. General rules. The purpose of these postures is threefold. First, they help the meditator establish a stable position for the body. With this stability, the meditator can focus the mind on the meditation object without worrying about balance or discomfort. Second, a stable body contributes to a stable mind, which can then progress deeper into concentration. Third, a stable posture allows the meditator to sit motionless for long periods without major disturbances, such as pain, muscle tension, or drowsiness. The most important thing is to sit with your back straight. Your spine should be upright, like a stack of coins. The head should be held straight in line with the spine. All of this should be done comfortably, not rigidly. You're not a wooden puppet, and this is not military training. In fact, there's no need to tense up to keep your back straight. Sit gently and relax. The spine should be like a young, flexible tree growing in soft soil. The rest of the body should follow in a relaxed and loose manner. These aspects require you to experiment multiple times to find what suits your body best. Usually when we sit, our posture is more awkward and unnatural than when we walk, talk, or stretch out. But these postures have become habitual over time and can be corrected. Your goal is to find a sitting posture that allows you to remain still throughout the entire meditation session. Initially, you might feel awkward sitting with a straight back, but with practice, you will get used to it and it will become comfortable because this sitting posture is very important. Physiologically, this is an alert posture and it aligns with a vigilant mind. If you slump, it means you're inviting drowsiness. What you sit on is equally important. A chair or cushion is necessary depending on the sitting posture, and the firmness of the seat should be chosen carefully. If it's too soft, it might make you sleepy, but if it's too hard, it can cause discomfort. Clothing worn during meditation should be soft and loose-fitting. Tight clothing that restricts blood flow or presses on nerves can cause pain or numbness, which people often describe as body falling asleep. If you're wearing a belt, loosen it. Avoid tight, thick clothing. Long skirts are a good option for women. Loose pants made of soft, elastic material are suitable for everyone. Soft, loose robes are typical traditional attire in Asia, such as sarongs or kimonos. Take off your shoes, and if you're wearing thick socks, remove those too. Traditional posture. When sitting on the floor in the traditional Asian style, you'll need a cushion to support your spine. Choose a cushion that is relatively firm and about 3 inches thick when compressed. Sit near the outer edge of the cushion, letting your legs rest on the floor. The floor is carpeted. It's beneficial to protect your shins and ankles from pressure. If there's no carpet, you should use a mat or a small blanket for your legs. Never sit fully on the cushion. This will put pressure on your thighs and compress nerves, leading to leg pain. There are several ways to position your legs. Here are the 4 most popular methods. Indian style. The right leg is placed under the left knee, and the left leg is tucked under the right knee. Burmese style. Both legs are placed parallel in front of you. Half lotus. both knees touch the ground, with one leg resting along the other at the shin. Full lotus, both knees touch the ground, legs crossed at the calves, with the left foot on the right thigh and the right foot on the left thigh. The soles of both feet face upward. In these postures, place your hands with the fingers loosely together, one hand resting on top of the other, with palms facing upward, and place them gently in front of your abdomen. The hands should be slightly below the navel, with the wrists lightly touching the inner thighs. Position of your hands helps keep the body upright and stable for long periods. Do not strain the muscles in your neck or arms. The entire body should be relaxed and completely at ease. Avoid creating tension in the abdomen. Raise your chin slightly. Your eyes can be open or closed. If you choose to keep them open, gaze at the tip of your nose or the midpoint between your eyes and the nearest object in front of you, as if you're not looking at anything specific, but rather gazing into space to forget about sight. Do not strain or tense up. Relax, allowing your entire body to be naturally supple, as if the whole body is hanging on a coat rack, with the spine acting as the hanger. The half lotus and full lotus postures are the most common in Theravada Buddhism in Asia, with the full lotus being considered the best posture for meditation. Once you're seated, you can remain completely still for an extended period. However, since this posture requires flexible legs, not everyone can sit this way. Moreover, the sitting posture does not define the meditator. It's simply a matter of finding what suits each individual best. Choose a posture that allows you to sit as long as possible without pain or fidgeting. Experiment with different postures to find the one that suits you best. Over time, your muscles will loosen, and you can gradually work your way toward the full lotus position. The chair. Sitting on the floor can be very difficult due to pain or other reasons, so you may choose to sit on a chair. Select a flat chair with a straight backrest and no armrests. When sitting, do not lean against the backrest. The front of the chair should not press too deeply into your thighs. Place both feet parallel, with the soles flat on the floor. As in the traditional posture, place your hands on your lap, one hand resting on top of the other with palms facing up. Do not strain the muscles in your neck or shoulders. Relax your arms. Your eyes can be open or closed. Regardless of the posture you choose, always keep your goal in mind. You want to achieve a state of total bodily stillness without falling into sleepiness. It's similar to letting a glass of water with sediment settle. You want to practice the method of a still body leads to a still mind. When the body is still and focused, it will lead to the clear state of mind you seek. So experiment. The body is merely a means to achieve the mental state we desire, so use it wisely. What to do with your mind? Practice method we're discussing here is the cultivation of insight meditation. As mentioned earlier, meditation objects vary widely and have been used by humans over time. Even within the practice of Vipassana, there are numerous differences. Some teachers instruct their students to observe the breath by watching the rise and fall of the abdomen. Others encourage focusing on the points of contact between the body and the seat, or between the hands, or the sensation of one leg touching the other. However, here we simply follow the way the Buddha taught long ago. In the Great Discourse on the Establishment of Mindfulness, the Buddha emphasized repeatedly that meditators should begin by focusing on the breath, and then proceed to observe all phenomena arising in the body and mind. We sit and observe the flow of the breath in and out of the nose. At first, this might seem like a pointless and strange, if not crazy, thing to do. Before going further, let's examine the reasoning behind this practice. The first question we might ask is, why focus all our attention? Because we want to develop mindfulness. So why not just sit anywhere and in any posture, simply being aware of whatever arises in the mind? In truth, that's exactly what we want to achieve. But doing that is very difficult because the mind is very cunning. Thoughts form in a highly complex and elusive manner. As a result, we are constantly manipulated, bound, and controlled by the endless stream of thoughts. One thought arises and then leads to another, taking us along, until 15 minutes later, we suddenly realize we've been daydreaming about distant things unrelated to the reality in which we are physically present. There is a difference between being aware of a thought and thinking a thought, and this difference is very subtle, with the importance lying in the feeling and structure. A thought that you simply recognize with mindfulness has a light, delicate texture. There is a separation between the thought, the known, and the awareness, the knower, that is aware of that thought. Awareness arises like a shadow and then disappears without creating the conditions for the next moment of awareness in the flow of thoughts. Thinking a thought, on the other hand, has a coarser structure. It is slower, more impressionable, and compelling. It captivates you and dominates consciousness. Its nature is to obsess people and immerse them in the stream of thoughts without leaving any gaps. Intentional thinking generates corresponding tension in the body, such as muscle contractions or an increase in heart rate, but you won't feel the tension until it accumulates and grows into a burst of frustration, as intentional thought is the embodiment of greed. It grabs all your awareness, leaving nothing behind for you to recognize its consequence. The difference between being aware of a thought and thinking a thought is real, but it is so subtle and difficult to perceive. Only meditation can help us see this difference. Deep concentration will slow down mental processes and sharpen awareness. As a result, we train ourselves to control the activity of mental process. Meditation is like a microscope for viewing the subtle states within. We focus our awareness to achieve one-pointedness with calmness and continuous, uninterrupted attention. Without a stable anchor, you are easily swept away by the constant changes of the arising and passing mental states. We use the breath as the meditation object. It serves as a crucial anchor so that whenever the mind drifts away, it has a place to return to. There can be no state of wandering if the mind has no home to return to when it leaves. Therefore, we need to choose a stable anchor amidst the constant, incoherent changes in the mind's thought stream. In the scriptures, meditation is compared to the method of training a wild elephant. In ancient times, people would tie the untamed animal to a sturdy post with a strong rope. Naturally, this did not please the elephant. It would bellow, stomp, and strain against the rope for many days. Eventually, it would realize that escape was impossible, and so it would accept reality. At that point, you could begin to feed and safely guide it in some activities to get it accustomed. In the next stage, you could remove the post and rope, training the elephant for new tasks. Finally, you would have a well-trained elephant that could perform useful work. The wild elephant is no different from our unruly mind. The rope is mindfulness, and the post is the meditation object, the breath. A well-trained elephant can perform heavy tasks with great efficiency, just as a concentrated mind can pierce through the layers of illusion that obscure life's truths. Meditation is training for the mind. The next question we should consider is, why choose the breath as the primary meditation object? Why not select something more interesting? The answer is diverse. A good meditation object should have the potential to yield high results. It should be flexible, readily available, and natural. It should not be something that arouses desire, while we aim to let go of things like greed, anger, and delusion. The breath possesses all these qualities and more. It is a universal element for all beings, and we carry it with us wherever we go. It is always present, ready, and never lost until the moment of death. And moreover, we don't have to buy it. Breathing is not a conceptual process. We can experience it without intentional effort. Furthermore, it is a living process, a form of life in constant change. The breath operates in cycles, inhalation, exhalation. It mirrors the cycle of life itself. The sensation of breathing is subtle, but it's not difficult to distinguish once you learn to follow it, requiring just a bit of effort. Anyone can do this. Simply a matter of applying your ability to this practice without overexerting yourself. For all these reasons, the breath is truly an ideal meditation object. Usually, breathing is a natural process, proceeding in its own way without any intentional effort. But even a small change can slow it down or speed it up, or make it longer and calmer or shorter and more rapid. The difference between natural breathing and controlled breathing is very subtle. And this is an important lesson about the nature of spontaneity and the force of will. Then, right at the edge of the nose, you can gain a glimpse through a window between the inner and outer worlds. This is the connection point, where energy from outside enters to become part of what we call self, and also where it exits to merge with the external universe. These lessons teach us what the concept of self is and how we construct it. The breath is a universal phenomenon. Understanding this process through actual experience brings you closer to other living beings. You will realize the inherent connection of all living things. After all, the breath is a process of the present moment, meaning it always unfolds here and now. We rarely live in the present. Instead, we waste much of our time reminiscing about the past, daydreaming about future possibilities, or spending our days worrying, feeling insecure, or planning for what's to come. The breath has nothing to do with those beyond the present concerns. When you truly observe the breath, you automatically live in the present moment, setting aside all the complexities to experience the simplicity of the current moment. From this perspective, the breath is a small piece of life's truth. Mindfulness that observes the essence of this small model of life will lead us to intuitive wisdom, which we can apply to the experiential process in all other areas. The first step in observing the breath as an object is to notice it. What you're looking for is the physical sensation of the air entering and exiting the nostrils. This is usually just inside the nostrils, but the exact spot depends on the individual, as there are differences in nose shape. Find your spot, take a deep breath, and feel where there's a distinct sensation as the air passes through. Then breathe out forcefully to feel the same spot. This point is where you need to anchor your attention throughout the breathing cycle. Once you've identified the anchor point, don't let yourself stray from it. Use this anchor to keep your attention fixed. If there's no anchor, you'll easily be drawn into following the breath's movements, up and down, in and out, constantly chasing the breath as it changes and flows. If you've ever sawed a plank of wood, you know this principle. The carpenter doesn't watch the saw blade moving up and down. Instead, they focus on the point where the saw teeth bite into the wood. That's the only way to make a straight cut. Similarly, the meditator should focus attention on a single point where there's contact at the nostril. The benefit is that you can observe the entire movement of the breath with concentrated awareness. Never try to control the breath. This is not a breathing exercise like in yoga. Focus naturally and without forcing on the movement of the breath. Don't intentionally try to regulate or emphasize it in any particular way. This is a common pitfall for new meditators. To help them concentrate on the sensation, new meditators often unintentionally make their breathing more pronounced. The result is an unnatural strain which hinders concentration rather than helping it to develop. Never lengthen your breath or create noise, especially when meditating in a group, as it will disturb others around you. Let the breath flow as naturally as it does when you're asleep. Relax and let the entire process unfold in its own rhythm. It sounds easy, doesn't it? The truth is, it's not as easy as you think, but don't get discouraged. With some effort, you'll find a way. Use this as an opportunity to observe the nature of consciousness. Examine the interplay within the breath, between the impulse to control it and the impulse not to control it. You might feel frustrated for a while, but this is a stage you must go through, and the benefits gained from this process are significant. Gradually, the breath will stabilize, and you'll no longer feel any urge to interfere. At this point, you'll learn a great lesson about your own contrary desires. Initially, the breath may seem very ordinary and unremarkable, but in reality, it's a fascinating process with a vast and intricate structure. If you look closely, you'll see that it takes on countless forms. There are phases of inhalation and exhalation, long and short, deep and shallow, continuous and erratic. These patterns blend together in countless subtle and complex ways. Observe the breath closely. Truly study it. You'll notice many levels of change and recurring cycles in various consistent patterns. It's like a symphony. Don't just observe the coarse aspects of the breath. There's much more to learn than simply inhaling and exhaling. Each breath has a beginning, middle, and end. Each inhalation goes through stages, arising, staying, decaying, and ceasing, and the exhalation is the same. The depth and speed of the breath depend on your emotional state, the thoughts arising in your mind, and the sounds you hear. Study these phenomena, and you'll find them truly captivating. However, this doesn't mean you should sit there silently talking to yourself. That was an erratic breath, and that was a deep breath. What will the next one be? That's not what insight meditation is about. That's you thinking. You'll encounter this kind of situation, especially in the beginning stages of practice, which everyone must go through. Simply acknowledge this occurrence and return to observing the breath. Your mind will wander again and again, but you just need to bring it back to the object, over and over, until the mind no longer wanders. When you begin practicing, be prepared for challenges. Your mind will wander, jumping around like a drunken bee. Don't worry, the restless monkey mind is a common phenomenon. It's something every meditator has to face and overcome in one way or another, and so must you. When it happens, it's not that you're thinking, daydreaming, worrying, or anything else. Be flexible but firm without getting angry or criticizing yourself for being distracted. Simply bring your mind back to the sensation of the breath. And then do it again and again. At some point in your practice, you'll be faced with astonishment and surprise when you realize the absurdity and madness of your own mind. Subconsciously, you'll be startled and confused, like being trapped in a barrel rolling uncontrollably down a steep hill. But don't worry, you're no crazier today than you were yesterday. You've always been this way. It's just that you've never noticed it before. One more thing, you're not crazier than the people around you. The difference between them and you now is that you've confronted this issue while they haven't, so they feel relatively more at ease than you do. That doesn't mean they're living better lives than you. Ignorance may bring them temporary happiness, but it won't lead them to liberation, so don't let this understanding make you uneasy. This is just a stage, a sign of genuine progress. The most obvious thing is that you're now facing an ever-present issue that you were previously blind to or unaware of. Observing the breath in silence requires avoiding two states, thinking and blankness. Thinking mind is an expression of the restless monkey mind we mentioned earlier. The opposite is blankness. In meditation terminology, the term unknowing emptiness is often used to describe this state, a dull, foggy state lacking in awareness. It's just an empty state. Without thoughts, but also without mindfulness, without understanding anything in the present moment. It's just a void, a gray area, like a dreamless sleep. This is a state to avoid. Insight meditation is a dynamic practice. Deep concentration, focusing all attention on a single object. Mindfulness is clear, bright attention. Concentration and mindfulness are the two qualities we want to cultivate. Blankness does not belong to either of these qualities. It can lead you into drowsiness and waste your meditation time. Whenever you realize you've fallen into a state of blankness, simply acknowledge it and bring your mind back to your breath. Observe the sensation of the breath as it comes in and out to see what's happening. When you practice this way for some time, weeks or months, you'll begin to feel that sensation as if it were a tangible entity. Continue practicing. Inhale, exhale, and observe, following what's happening. The deeper your concentration, the less your mind will jump around. Your breath will slow down, allowing you to examine it more clearly because there are fewer interruptions when you have to bring your mind back to the breath. You'll experience a calm state that's no longer disturbed by external stimuli. There's no greed, craving, jealousy, envy, or hatred. Restlessness disappears in that moment, and fear does not exist. Only a state of profound clarity and happiness remains. This is a temporary state, and it will fade away when you come out of meditation. But even this brief experience can change your life. This is not liberation, but it is a stepping stone on the path to liberation. Don't expect this temporary happiness, but reaching this state takes a lot of time, effort, and patience. Meditation is not a competition. Although there is a clear goal, there is no time limit. What you are doing is gradually penetrating deeper and deeper through many layers of illusion to approach an understanding of the ultimate truth. The process itself is already full of charm and perfection. It is immensely satisfying, but there's no need to rush. After a good meditation session, you will have a mind that is truly comfortable and serene. It is peaceful, joyful, and full of energy to deal with all the issues of life. That alone is a great reward. The purpose of meditation is not to solve problems. The ability to solve problems is a byproduct that meditators gain along the way. If you focus too much on this area, you may lose concentration because your mind will dwell on these issues during meditation. Never think about problems while meditating, but skillfully set them aside during this time. Set aside all worries and plans for the moment. Treat your meditation session as a complete break. Trust yourself that you'll face these problems later. For now, put all your effort into cultivating concentration. Cultivate this confidence, and over time it will become a reality through practice. Never set goals beyond your ability. Be kind to yourself. Always try to follow your breath continuously, without allowing your attention to be interrupted. Sounds easy, so you may be inclined to push yourself at the beginning to be meticulous and precise. But this approach is not practical. It takes time to progress in small steps. At the beginning of the inhale, commit to following just one breath. Although it's not easy, it's something you can do. Next, at the beginning of the exhale, commit to following just that exhale until it ends. You will still fail time and time again. Just keep trying and practicing. Every time you fail, start over. Take it one breath at a time. Success or failure lies in this phase. Strive with it. Recommit with each breath cycle, each moment. Observe each breath with all your attention, carefully and precisely, from one moment to the next with a renewed determination. In this way, continuous, uninterrupted mindfulness will eventually arise. Mindfulness of the breath is awareness in the present moment. When practiced correctly, you are only focused on what is happening in the present moment. You don't think about the past, nor do you imagine the future. You don't recall the last breath, nor do you leap forward in anticipation of the next one. When you begin to inhale, you don't wait for the end of the inhalation process, nor do you jump ahead in anticipation of the upcoming exhalation. You simply become aware of what is happening right now. You are inhaling, and that is what you are focusing on, nothing more. Meditation is the process of training and correcting the mind. The state you aim to achieve is one of full, uninterrupted attention to what is happening in your sensory world, precisely as it is, exactly as it is. State of complete and present awareness. This is an ultimate goal, and it cannot be reached quickly. It requires practice and training, so we must start with the very small. We must be fully aware of each moment, one breath at a time. When this is done well, you will gain an entirely new experience of life. The structure of practice. Everything discussed above still falls within the realm of theory. Now let's delve into the actual practice. The question is, how do we do what we call meditation? First, you need to establish a schedule for practice, a specific time dedicated solely to meditation and nothing else. When you were a child learning to walk, those who taught you faced countless challenges in teaching you this ability. They held your hands, encouraged you, and helped you place one foot in front of the other until you could do it on your own. These guided stages formed a training process for the art of walking. In meditation, we follow a similar method. We set aside a specific period dedicated to developing this spiritual ability called mindfulness. We arrange for our surroundings to minimize distractions, because this is not an easy skill to learn. We have spent nearly our entire lives cultivating habits that are entirely contrary to the ideal operation of continuous mindfulness. To rid ourselves of these habits, we need an effective process. As mentioned earlier, our mind is like a glass of dirty water. The purpose of meditation is to filter out the sediment so that we can see what is happening within. The best way to do this is to leave it undisturbed and wait long enough for it to settle. Eventually, you'll have a clear glass of water. In meditation, we dedicate a period of time each day to this filtering process. From the outside, it may seem entirely pointless. We sit motionless like a rock, but inside, much is happening. Once scattered thoughts settle, we are left with a clear mind to face whatever life throws at us. This doesn't mean we have to do something to hasten this settling. It's just a natural process. Sitting mindfully will lead to this settling. In fact, if we have even a hint of intention to speed up the settling, it will have the opposite effect. Because it's a form of suppression, it doesn't work. Trying to force out disturbances from the mind only increases the pressure on it. You might temporarily succeed, but over time, these disturbances will only grow stronger. They lie dormant in the subconscious, waiting for an opportunity to erupt, at which point you will be powerless against them. The best method to filter out the mind's impurities is to let them settle naturally. Don't add any energy to the existing condition, just observe the flow of phenomena objectively. Gradually, it will settle down and stop if you don't supply the energy for it to rise again. We use energy for meditation, not to suppress wandering thoughts. Our only effort is patient mindfulness. Meditation time is like surgery for the day. Everything that happens during the day is stored in the mind in various forms, emotions, feelings. Throughout the day, you are caught up in the constraints of circumstances which you must face and deal with whether you understand them clearly or not. They are stored in the subconscious where they cause the most damage. Then you wonder where all this stress comes from. All these residues emerge in one form or another during meditation. You have the opportunity to examine them, see their true nature, and then let them go. Serious meditation sessions are meant to create the conditions for this letting go. We re-establish mindfulness in regular time cycles to move the mind away from the disruptive activities of daily life. So we find a quiet place to sit still and wait for these things to arise. Then they will fade away. This effect is like recharging a battery. Meditation is like charging mindfulness with energy. Where to sit? Find a quiet, secluded place where you are alone. It doesn't have to be an ideal spot like a forest. That's unrealistic for most of us, but it should be relatively comfortable and, most importantly, free from interruption. Place should be one where few people come and go. You want to devote all your attention to meditation without worrying about how you look to others. So the quieter the place, the better. It doesn't need to be a soundproof room, but noise is indeed a distraction to avoid if possible, especially conversations and music. The mind tends to be drawn to such sounds, making it hard to control, and concentration is lost. There are some details you can use to create a favorable environment. A dimly lit room with candles and incense is excellent. Timing device to mark the start and end of the session is also helpful. These are just minor details. They work for some people, but are not directly related to the practice itself. You might find some benefit in sitting in a familiar spot. Place dedicated to meditation is a good condition for many people. You gradually become familiar with it and feel more comfortable there, helping you enter into concentration more quickly. It's as if the environment pulls you back to where you left off the day before. This is something you need to experiment with to see. Try a few places and choose the best one. What you need to avoid is anything that makes you feel unnatural and prone to distraction. Many people find it beneficial to sit in a group. Adhering to a schedule makes many feel supported and encouraged, which is also helpful in the practice. Commitment that you must keep is also a way to counter the "I'm too busy" syndrome, which leads to skipping sessions. You can find a meditation group in your area. It doesn't matter if they practice the same way as you, as long as you sit in silence. On the other hand, you should also feel sufficient in your practice. Never rely on the group's presence as your primary motivation. Correct approach is to see meditation as a joy. The group is just a support, not a crutch for you. When to sit. The most crucial principle is to apply the Buddhist middle way when meditating. Don't overdo it, but don't take it lightly. That doesn't mean you only sit when you feel like it. It means you must have a schedule and stick to it consistently. Setting a schedule is commendable. But if the schedule creates too much difficulty, it's not suitable and needs adjustment. Meditation is not a duty or obligation. It's a psychological activity. You will face the roughness of thoughts and emotion. Therefore, your mental state when you begin meditation affects the outcome of the session. What you expect is often what you will achieve. So having a good mental attitude usually yields good results. If you sit with a heavy heart and fatigue, that's what you'll get. Therefore, create a suitable, feasible routine that fits with other aspects of your life. Then, if you start feeling a gradual sense of liberation, consider changing it. Early morning is an excellent time to practice. Your mind is fresh because you haven't yet thought about the responsibilities of the day ahead, so meditation is a good way to start the day. It will prepare you better to face any situation. You will go through the day more easily. Certainly, you must be alert. You won't achieve anything worthwhile if you're constantly nodding off, so get enough sleep. Wash your face or shower before starting. Possible, do some exercise to get your blood flowing, or do anything to fully wake up before sitting in meditation. Above all, don't get caught up in daily activities, or you'll easily skip the meditation session. Treat sitting in meditation as the most important task of the morning. Evening is also a good time for practice. Your mind is full of the garbage accumulated during the day, so clearing it out before bed is a good idea. Meditation will cleanse and refresh your mind. Reestablishing mindfulness will make your sleep more beneficial. When starting meditation, once a day is enough. You feel like sitting more? That's fine, but never overdo it. There's a phenomenon of burnout that we often see in many new meditators. They throw themselves into the practice for 15 hours a day for a few weeks, only to find when life catches up with them that meditation is too time-consuming, too sacrificial, and they can't find time for it anymore. Don't ever fall into this situation. Don't exhaust yourself in the first week. Hurry slowly. Keep your efforts steady and sustainable. Give yourself time to integrate the practice into your life and let it develop gradually and smoothly. As your interest in meditation grows, you will naturally make more time for it in your schedule. This spontaneous development happens without any force. Serious meditators often devote 3 to 4 hours a day to practice while still living a normal life, naturally and comfortably. How long to sit? As mentioned earlier, sit for as long as you can, but don't overdo it. New meditators should start with 20 to 30 minutes. Initially, it's challenging to sit longer and still gain benefit. This is especially true for Westerners, as this sitting posture is unfamiliar, but the body needs time to adjust. The mental ability is also new and requires time to adapt. As you become more accustomed to the process, you can gradually extend the time. We recommend that after about a year of continuous practice, you should be able to sit comfortably for an hour at a time. The important thing is that Vipassana meditation is not an ascetic practice. The goal is not to self-inflict pain. Pain is inevitable, especially in the legs. We will discuss pain and how to handle it in more detail in Chapter 10. There are specific methods and attitudes that you will learn to face pain. Point here is, this is not a competition to endure hardship. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. So, don't force yourself to sit through excruciating pain just to complete the full hour. That would be a useless practice for the ego. Never overextend yourself at the beginning. Know your limits, and don't blame yourself for not being able to sit like a rock for long periods. As meditation becomes a part of your life, you can extend the session beyond an hour. Typically, how long you sit depends on the conditions of your life at the time. Then, sit for 5 minutes longer than planned. There are no strict rules about meditation time. Even if you've developed a solid practice for a short time, there will be days when physical conditions prevent you from sitting that long. That doesn't mean you should skip the day altogether. Regular practice is the key. Even 10 minutes of practice can be very beneficial. One more thing to note, when choosing how long to meditate, decide before sitting down, not during the session. This easily leads to restlessness. Restlessness is one of the states we want to observe mindfully. So choose a suitable time and stick to it. You can use a clock to time your session, but don't peek at it every 2 minutes to see how you're doing. Concentration will not accumulate, and restlessness will arise immediately. You'll find yourself distracted before the meditation session ends. That's not meditation. That's just watching the clock as time passes. Don't check the clock until you believe the designated time for the session has passed. In fact, you don't need to check the clock during every meditation session. Usually, you should sit for as long as you feel like it. There's no mystery about how long you should sit. Best to set a minimum time for yourself, however short it may be. Without a minimum, you'll be tempted to end the session as soon as something unpleasant arises, or when you feel uneasy. This isn't beneficial. These experiences can be very valuable if the meditator is willing to face and learn from them. You need to learn how to observe them clearly and calmly. Watch them mindfully. Once you do this enough, they won't control you anymore. You'll see their true nature. They are just impulses, arising and passing away, merely part of the flow. Then your life will naturally become more peaceful. Discipline is a word that can be quite intimidating for many of us. Conjures up images of someone standing over you with a whip in hand, telling you that you're doing something wrong. But self-discipline is entirely different. It's the ability to see through your own shortcomings and penetrate the mysterious nature of them. They no longer have the power to oppress you. Instead, they reveal the deception they've been holding over you all this time. Your cravings have been screaming, thrashing about to overpower you. They've tricked, coaxed, and threatened you without needing to use a whip. Yet you've still given in to them, turning this into a habit. You listen to them because you've never bothered to look closely to see if the threat is real. It isn't real at all. So, there's only one way to learn this lesson. The words on this page won't do it for you. But looking within and observing the residues that arise, unease, restlessness, agitation, suffering, just watch them appear without engaging with them. Then, to your surprise, they simply fade away. They arise and then dissipate. As simple as that. There's another word for self-discipline, and that word is patience.